am Sister Ann, a member of the Servants of the Holy Heart of Mary. I reside in Rockford with two wonderful women I'm able to share our home with, Sister Mary Kay and Sister Marie Ange. And I've been involved in a lot of different activities as far as social justice goes. Right now I'm working at Carpenter's Place in Rockford, which is a place that assists homeless as far as breakfast and lunch, but also has several other opportunities to help people in their homelessness and to find homes and work and different things like that. I also worked at Bethany House of Hospitality, which was a place where young women and many children who were seeking asylum came to stay until they could find places of their own or were able to get asylum. And that really has been one of the things that have really led me to the interest in making sure people's voices are heard in voting. And so particularly this year, of all the years I've ever voted, this is probably the most consequential voting of my lifetime and probably many of yours. And there's a lot we're going to have to navigate to be able to vote and to understand what the issues are. And so tonight, before we get started, I'd like to start with a prayer. And if we just quiet ourselves for a moment and invite Jesus into our hearts. Jesus, thank you for humbling yourself to walk alongside us as a man. Help our leaders to be willing to walk alongside each other, their constituents, and especially the marginalized. Our leaders have different opinions and priorities. Give them the wisdom to navigate these differences and to work together to strengthen our country. Remind us in this election year that you have called us all to be as one. Amen.
Amen.
Pope Francis states that Catholics and all people of goodwill are called to be multi-issue voters, not single-issue voters. This year, we have many things to think about as we're getting ready to vote. And we can't allow a single issue to outweigh a candidate's position that would harm senior citizens, immigrants, asylum seekers, low-income families, people of color, the LGBTQ plus community, the homeless, veterans, and our environment. Focusing on a single issue allows other social issues to go unchecked. Economic inequality and exploitation, racism, gun violence, xenophobia, environmental destruction, just to name a few. We need to look for leaders who will enact policies that will address these issues, because if one of us is affected by them, we all are. People of all faith traditions are encouraged to listen to their elected leaders and candidates, and after assessing what our leaders and candidates stand for, vote their conscience and embrace an expansive, inclusive agenda instead of a narrow one. We all know that freedom belongs to all of us, but we also know that many are less free because of who they are. So we have to begin naming what freedom means to us. In naming what we stand for, we have to demonstrate what we stand for. My freedom is joy, peace of mind, an inclusive community, and the ability to flourish. What are your freedoms? Let's pause for a moment and think about what your freedoms look like to you, your families, and your community. At this time, I want to turn to the equally sacred checklist provided by Network Lobby for Social Justice and break down priorities we can look at in our candidates before we even cast our votes. First of all, I hope you're all registered to vote. And if you're not, do you need help? If you do, I will assist in any way I can to help you to use your voice and to cast your vote. I would recommend also that you look up your leaders, and I will be sending a list of all the leaders in Illinois from federal, state, and local, so that you can go to their websites and find out what they stand for, so that you can be an informed voter. And the other thing about that is it's going to give you a snapshot of the elections in your area. One of the major freedoms that I think we need to think about, and you'll see it on the checklist, is the freedom to be healthy. In America, right now, we need to vote for candidates who will ensure that access to good health care and nutrition is treated as a fundamental right, available to all, regardless of wealth. We do this if we vote to protect and expand health care for all and end the injustice of medical debt. Many hardworking people in our country have had to declare bankruptcy because of medical debt. It also destroys their credit ratings. This is a pro-life protection. Reduce the cost of prescription drugs so that patients can afford life-saving meds. We have seen in the recent past the reduction in the cost of insulin for seniors and the desire to make that deduction or reduced pay for all. Many other drugs will be added in the future. And the way they can do that is by allowing Medicare to talk with or to compromise with, negotiate with the drug companies that will bring the cost of these meds down. The current administration wants to cap out-of-pocket expenses for seniors to $2,000 a year. That in itself is a pro-life provision. In our country, right now, the maternal health crisis for Black women is 49.5 deaths per 100,000 live births, which is much higher than the 19.0 for white women. This disparity can be, I just have to add here, as an OB nurse, as a former OB nurse, I found this statistic outrageous. I just couldn't believe it when I saw that big of a disparity. And this can be changed if we vote for leaders who will enact health care for all, regardless of the ability to pay, including adequate prenatal care. Many times women in general, white, Black, Indigenous, arrive at the hospital during a crisis in their pregnancies. New draconian laws have caused really undue pain and anxiety, not only for the patient, but for their physicians. As a nurse, I've assisted in the care of these medical emergencies, saving lives of women suffering from ectopic pregnancies, placental abnormalities, non-viable fetal anomalies, fetal demise, and premature rupture of membranes. This is just to name a few. I myself am against abortion. My life kind of speaks to that. But I don't think we can legislate morality. Morality is a personal thing. And I really don't think that anyone who makes that type of decision does it lightly. It's not something that a woman takes lightly. And sometimes, unfortunately, abortion is a life-saving measure. We need to support ending hunger in our nation with needed food assistance programs such as SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It used to be called food stamps. And also WIC, which is Women, Infant, and Children Assistance Programs. And also to support school nutrition programs. How does your legislature vote? The Catholic Church affirms that food and health care are not privileges reserved for the wealthy, but a universal right for all. Everybody deserves good health care, food, water, nutrition. This is also a pro-life issue. Freedom to live on a healthy planet. All human beings depend on the environment in which they live. A clean, safe, healthy, and sustainable environment is integral to the full enjoyment of a wide range of human rights, including the right to life, health, food, water, and sanitation. Without a healthy environment, we are unable to fulfill our aspirations. Just an FYI, in Illinois, Governor Pritzker signed the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, which takes the following actions to decrease Illinois' contribution to the human-caused climate change. Number one, transitioning Illinois power production to 100% clean energy by requiring 40% of all power to come from renewable resources and all remaining fossil fuel power plants to be carbon neutral by 2050. Also encourages the development of Illinois green energy job sector and invest money in retraining programs for workers who are impacted by the switch away from fossil fuels. Put into place new consumer protection laws regarding utilities. Incentivize the transition to electric vehicles. Expand ethical laws for utilities and politicians, and change how utilities can charge for electricity. Vote for politicians who will end policies that benefit fossil fuel corporations, such as tax subsidies and approval of pipelines. Vote for politicians who will address pollution and toxic dumping that disproportionately affect Black, Brown, and indigenous communities and ensure clean air and water for all. Because the care of our home, or the lack thereof, usually, as stated before, has a greater effect on the poor communities of color and the unequal sharing, the unequal sharing of the world's resources. This instills anger and hostility. And one way that the vulnerable folks act out through this rage is through gun violence or the exploitation of those who are more vulnerable than they. We all need to reflect on what we can do and who we elect to care for our common home, and to work toward a more equitable sharing of our resources. This too is a pro-life issue. Freedom to participate in a vibrant democracy. We need to vote for candidates who refuse to use violent language or threats of violence against other candidates or groups of people. I think we all remember well January 6, 2021. Ensure that all eligible voters have access to voting. Also, again, be sure you're all registered. More than 40 states have passed new voting laws this year that will affect the 2024 elections. 14 of those states have made voting more difficult, especially in communities of color and poor communities. They have limited access. They have limited access to the drop boxes. They've made it so that there's less places to vote, so that when people go to vote, they oftentimes have to wait 2, 3, 4 hours. And a lot of them, it compromises their desire to vote. And so those are things that are just unconscionable, but are happening all over. Particularly in our southern states. Our southern states have a greater propensity to limit voting for Black and brown communities. Freedom to care for ourselves and our families. Do you want to vote for a candidate that will reduce the cost of living for families, including a child tax credit and paid family leave? Just an FYI, the Biden administration has given child care tax cuts, which has reduced childhood poverty by 50% with the American Rescue Plan. Now, this rescue plan is due to expire on December 31st, 2024. So it's important to see what your candidates think about the American Rescue Plan. I do know that it is part of the Harris-Wallace plan to continue that child tax deduction. Also, the Head Start program, and this also ensures early education and childcare for low-income families. 3.1 million families in 2.1 million households in America count on Head Start. When I was looking at the Project 2025 issue, they plan to eliminate that entirely, which may make it impossible for, pardon me, for both adults and the family to work. One will have to remain home with the kids, or they'll have to rely on other child care. Want to vote to ensure that all workers earn a fair wage and also a right to unionize. This particular issue is to help the middle class rebuild itself, and it also allows for the growth of the middle class. This is important because it is the middle class who built this country, but it's also the middle class that has actually shrunk in this country. And it's important that legislation takes back to increase and build up the middle class, because without the middle class, our economy tanks and productivity tanks. So we need to vote to address the high cost of housing by investing in affordable housing. This would be achieved by aggressively building new housing units and granting first-time home buyers housing assistance and renters a tax credit. This will create jobs by building houses and also help with what we now have is a severe housing shortage.
But do you, that would be affordable building?
Yeah, affordable, yes.
Which we have none
Well,
right now.
there is some, but it's hard to get into, like any of the Section 8 housings or anything like that. They're pretty much filled up, but there's so many that want to buy a home, but there isn't the access to it. And the other thing about that is that they are the income issue.
Yes.
You know, that's why I heard Vice President Harris talked the other night about how, along with building up many housing projects or units, offering first-time owners a $25,000 credit so that they could invest in their housing. But it would be for first-time homeowners only, or home buyers. And that would, like, there are so many people right now who are still living with their families and can't afford housing. They're paying off high student debt. And so these are just ways to help them move beyond.
And can I say something about that?
Sure.
Right in our area, there are 30,000 people waiting for a place to live. 30,000. Between Elgin, DeKalb, and St. Charles.
And those are areas where there is room for growth.
And the cities don't let them build affordable.
And that's why you need to vote for legislators who will allow that type of building to take place. So you really need to look at where the people you vote for stand on these issues. And we also need to be very vocal ourselves, write to our senators, write to our congressmen, write to our local leaders, and tell them that this is what, we need. This has to happen. And get other people involved in it so that the more the merrier, the louder the voice. So that's one of the things. Another thing too is, when I was growing up, everyone was encouraged to go to college and get a degree, and that isn't necessarily what everybody wants to do. And so one of the things that would be good to look into, first of all, not everyone needs a college education, nor do they want a college education. But without those, they should still be able to make a living wage. And one of the things that our politicians, we need to have politicians who will support expanding training and apprenticeship programs and fund free community college so that people can go in, kind of discover different avenues they can possibly take, or get a taste of several different things so that they can make a decision on what they want to do and how they want to proceed. And one of the things that, as Catholics, our teaching promotes the dignity of work, the right of the worker, and an inclusive economy that places people over profit and ensures that we all have what we need to thrive. When you think about it, this too is a pro-life issue. So many of these issues really are. Freedom from harm. This is a hot button topic right now. I mean, we just got through another mass shooting, and I don't know how many it's going to take before something is actually done about this. So many children, I mean, we're talking high school kids, grammar school kids, their lives have been snuffed out. And it's important to see how our legislators vote on common sense gun control. Unfortunately, many of our legislators are owned by gun lobbies, so that when a bill is introduced protecting us from gun violence, it never comes to the legislature, or if it does, it is so watered down before it is even fully briefed, so that it doesn't make a big difference anyway. Weapons of war have no place on our streets, in our communities. Therefore, war, they aren't for here. So the problem with it is that they're relatively easy to obtain. And that's a crime. I mean, I can't understand it. We don't have red flag laws. We don't have universal background checks. And all these things could be used to help us determine if somebody is able or unable to use just regular guns, not these high-powered automatic things. You know, banning these weapons will keep our children and our communities a little safer. Again, it's Black, Brown, Indigenous, and the LGBTQ plus communities that are most affected by these guns. The Catholic Church insists upon every person's intrinsic worth, dignity, and the right to live safely. No exceptions. There's been a lot said lately about immigration, and immigrants have a bad rap. I mean, everybody thinks, you know, we've got people in, not everybody thinks, as a matter of fact, most people don't think. But do our legislators support an immigration system that values the basic dignity and human rights of all people? I read a story not too long ago about a young man who had his green card, and he went to buy something and they told him he had to produce his green card. And when he produced his green card, the person, oh no, he was going to, I think buy a car or do something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, when he produced his green card, the person who received it cut it in half. And he had to go through all these hoops to get a new green card. But that's the kind of stuff that sometimes our immigrants have to tolerate. Immigrants are essential to our country. We're all immigrants. All my family came from Ireland and Germany, and you know, we all come from immigrant backgrounds. We have to look into our hearts and say, we need immigrants. We need immigrants for jobs, to cover jobs. We also need them to boost our economy. I mean, everybody thinks, oh my gosh, they're taking my jobs or they're doing this and so. But the bottom line is we all come from immigration, except for indigenous people. And immigrants are who built our country. And I do think that not only do we welcome, they all need to be vetted for sure. I mean, we do not want cartels and drug people, guns and all that stuff, fentanyl coming into the country. So people do have to be vetted. But once they're vetted, we send them to different places. And we need to support those different places, which are sanctuary cities that accept and take care and make sure that our immigrants are treated with respect. And one of the things that kind of surprises me is everyone's talking about immigration now. Do you know that they were talking about reforms to the immigration system in the 50s and they haven't gotten it done yet? It's not, we can't blame the current or the previous administration for something that's been going on for a long time. What we have to do is we have to elect leaders who are going to actually deal with the immigration issue instead of leaving it for the next and the next and the next until it becomes such an issue that everyone is frightened by the other, which is just terribly wrong. Many of the immigrants are coming from countries where their safety is threatened, but also some are coming as a result of climate change. The resources where they're coming from have been totally devastated, and their ability to support themselves there are compromised. And like I said before, it is important that people coming to our country are safely vetted. Congressional conservatives and moderates delivered to Congress comprehensive immigration bill that would address the crisis at the border, but it was killed, and it was killed for political purposes. What's going to happen is that whoever gets elected in the fall is going to have to deal with this issue, and they're going to have to bring that bill back to make sure that people are safely brought into the country and safely vetted and not separated at the border. Children and parents come together. And it's one of those things that it's an issue of faith and trust and humanity. We have to be able to help these people and remember that they too help us. It's not a one-way street. So I want to know, are you an informed voter? Will you be looking at the pros and cons of these issues? Do you know the logistics of voting in your community? Do you know who and what is on your ballot? One of the things, and it should be coming up shortly, is there should be a ballot that you can download and see who's on the ballot in your area. I went and checked and it's not there yet, and it's probably too soon for it to be there. But in the next few weeks, go to your local voter registration and you'll be getting a copy of that. It's on the links.
And what will that give us?
Pardon?
And what will that give us?
It'll give you a copy of the ballot
Okay.
so that you can look at the ballot, and then when you see who's on the ballot, you can go and check out each of these people and vet them yourself.
Mhm.
See how they stand on the issues and what issues are important to you and how they reflect your concerns.
Not just the US, but also.
US, okay, federal, state, local, all of them. And it's important that you do all of them because down ballot candidates are important because they feed into the whole process, and you have to know how they stand in your community and so that you can have an idea of
How they think.
exactly. Do you know the logistics? Do you know where the locations are? Do you know what IDs you need to have to vote? And do you know how to obtain a mail-in ballot? All those things are important to know. Pope Francis has asked committed voters to make a voter commitment. And I'm going to just kind of tell you what it is for me. I am committing to be an informed and engaged multi-issue voter who participates in public life so that we all have what we need to thrive, no exceptions. Take time as you prepare to vote. Take your time and take it to prayer. It's important to take it to prayer because that's where God speaks to us in our hearts. And that's how you can be informed by the Spirit and allow the Spirit to speak within. And before we finish here, I think I'd like to go over a snapshot of Project 2025. This Project 2025 is a presidential transition project, and it's well-funded. It's a well-funded effort of the Heritage Foundation and more than 100 other organizations or think tanks to enable a future anti-democracy presidential administration to take swift, far-right action that would cut wages for working people, dismantle social safety net programs, reverse decades of progress for civil rights, redefine the way our society operates, and undermine our economy, to say nothing of what it'd do to our environment. A central pillar of Project 2025 is a mandate for leadership. And this is a 900-page policy playbook authored by former Trump administration officials and other extremists that provide a radical vision for our nation and a roadmap to implement it. This plan undermines the quality of life for millions of Americans. It removes critical protections and dismantles programs for communities across the nation and prioritizes special interest ideologies over people. From attacking overtime pay, student loan, and reproductive rights to allowing more discrimination, pollution, and price gouging. Those behind Project 2025 are preparing to go to incredible lengths to create a country only for some and not for all of us. And I bet you can guess who the some are. It's white, white and Christian.
Very rich,
Huh?
very rich.
Yeah, very rich
Male
people.
dominated.
Would eliminate a whole lot of people that we know and love. From it, okay, some of a snapshot of Project 2025 is it would immediately cut the American Rescue Plan program that we are talking about that has reduced childhood poverty by 50%. It would eliminate that. And also in the process of eliminating that, it would eliminate the 220,000 jobs that the American Rescue Plan created. It will limit access to food assistance. As a matter of fact, it wants to do away with SNAP or make it very hard to get serviced by SNAP. And, you know, there's 40 million people, 21.6 million households rely on this monthly. And it would eliminate many people the ability to get that. It would roll back civil rights protections across multiple fronts, including cutting diversity, equity, and inclusion-related programs that they call DEI, and LGBTQ rights in healthcare, education, and the workplace. It would also empower the president to remove key tools that the federal government uses to enforce civil rights and protections. It would eliminate Head Start right from the get-go, which serves more than 1 million people, and dismantle the education department and provide less support to our disabled veterans all in one fell swoop. It would stop the effort to lower prescription drug prices. It would cut overtime protection for 4.3 million workers. It will push more people toward Medicare Advantage and other worse private options. Medicare Advantage is not a good backup plan for people who are on Medicare. It's costly and it doesn't give you the support that other programs do. It would raise the retirement age from 67 to 69, and this also would affect 33 million people. It would restrict access to medication abortion. It would deny students in 25 states and Washington, D.C. access to student loans because the schools in their area provide tuition to undocumented immigrants.
Do you have any information going back to Medicare plus? What's the other one?
Advantage.
Yeah, what's so bad about that?
It's costly and it covers certain doctors, but not all.
Mm-hmm.
And
takes away your right to make choices.
it does. It takes
Okay.
away the right to make choices in who you want
Okay.
to care for you.
Thank
And it just costs a lot of money. You know, I don't know the price offhand. I used to, but I don't remember it because I'm having a brain fog.
Mhm.
But anyway, it's just really not. There's some more that are far more easy to navigate than Medicare Advantage. Okay, it will expose 368,000 children in foster care to risk to increase discrimination by not supporting the families who care for these foster children. Okay, it would set polluters loose and undo climate action. This project would allow increased production of fossil fuels and drill for oils and create new pipelines that run through indigenous communities. All those most affected by the loosening of climate actions are communities of color and people of low income. That's where all the dumping takes place and all the pollution is. It's all around these areas where people, and when you look at that statistic, it also is where you have the highest cancer rates, the highest asthma rates, and other respiratory problems, and it's because of this. It also wants to completely cut out the Department of Education and Homeland Security. And all these actions can take place without any congressional approval, because this document gives almost all authority to the executive branch of our government, which means our trifecta form of government would be greatly compromised or non-existent.
Trifecta.
Legislative, judicial, and legislative. And
Executive.
yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Oh my gosh. Let's see how people on Zoom would like to, if they would like to ask questions. There was one, there were a couple of comments. Mercy Community says, in the state of Illinois, people can register to vote even on election day. I just read that today.
Yeah,
They
that's
can
right.
Then vote immediately.
Mhm.
Voters no longer have to go to a specific voting location. All voting locations are able to check to see if each voter is registered.
That's right.
That's fascinating.
That's right.
Thank you. That's fascinating. I'm gonna change my view so I can see more
But
people.
would that work for local elections? You can go anywhere?
Yeah.
Does anybody have a question or comment? Raise your hand, either actually or virtually. We don't have everybody with their cameras on, but do you have a question? A comment?
Don't have hands down below.
Linda.
Do you want to
I
say,
have-
something, sister?
I have a question. On the ballot, usually, when I go to vote, in some of the minor offices, I would say, there's no choice given. There's no one running. There's only one person running for, um, that particular office from one party and not from the other. Is it, if I disagree with what that person stands for, is it better to not, I mean, just to skip that? That doesn't invalidate my ballot, does it?
No,
No.
it doesn't. It doesn't
Okay.
invalidate your ballot, and yes, it's okay to skip that.
Okay, I thought so, but I,
Uh-huh.
can't really ask anybody when you're in there voting.
When you go to turn your ballot in, they may ask you if you know that you missed that particular person.
Mm.
And you can just say
A
no.
lot of times they don't even see that. You just slip it through
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ballot counter. And no,
Right,
I asked
right.
that specifically the last time I went to vote. And they said, every vote is counted. If there's not, if you didn't vote that particular one, that's fine. Your vote, your ballot is still valid.
Okay. Okay, good.
St. Anne community, did you have a question or comment?
I just have a comment. I know how much Sister Ann has worked on this and sweated and prayed and worked on it. This is such a wide, what are we talking about? A wide concept and on a wide, and there are so many really strong opinions by many people that I think to be able to give us all of this information, to point us in good directions. It's going to help me because when I'm not a real good political person who knows a lot. And when somebody comes after me and says something, I really don't know what to say, except what I believe, which is, I think is important. But I really appreciate having this opportunity to hear all this material. Thank you, Ann.
But the other thing that I think is important there, you will get a handout, not a handout, but we'll send you links to various different sites where you could get different ideas. And I found them very helpful as far as looking into like the Affordable Care Act, voting rights, and social justice issues. They help me to determine how I want to vote. So they're good resources and feel free to use them. And if you have any questions, feel free.
For resources, can we have a copy of you have
It's right there.
the whole copy?
Oh, you mean of this?
Yes,
Sure.
it is. I mean, it is really helpful.
Okay.
This is these are the resources Sister put together.
But
And I added the links so that when you get this digitally emailed to you tomorrow morning, you can see that there's the equally sacred checklist that Sister talked about. you can see that there's the Illinois Board of Elections website and the National Voter Registration website are there. So you can register, you can change your voter information if you need to. The Affordable Care Act website's there. And all the other ones that Sister either mentioned or did mention, that the People's Guide to Protection, you saw that summary of Project 2025, and that's a longer document. I only showed you a picture of it, and it has more information on all those topics in that document, as well as the
The other document, and I don't know if it's there, but if you go into the equally sacred checklist, they also have the equally sacred checklist and Project 2025. Oh, is that up there?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. That was really helpful for me. I really appreciated the work that the lobby did to produce it and to let us see it's a good resource.
So you'll get this document. You will also get this summary page from the contrasting Project 2025 and the Catholic Social Justice. This is just one page out of an 18-page document, but the link for the whole thing is on that resource page.
My question is, so many people that I'm confronted with, and you're right, everyone has strong opinions. There's hardly anybody lukewarm, and it's all or nothing. But they say, well, where are you getting your news from or information from? Because, naively, I used to believe national TV stations gave you just the facts, the news, but now you realize it's slanted, if you're listening to this or that. Now, those resources that you show, are they slanted, but biased or whatever? I mean, do you have some that I would read this document and I would think, oh, this makes sense. And then I'd read another one and I think, oh, but this is the pluses or minus here. I mean,
Well, the thing about these particular documents are they are based on Catholic social justice teaching.
that's what that was
Yeah,
the filter that you were using.
exactly.
Okay.
There are, when you go to regular networks and stuff like that, you are gonna see a bias of some sort. I
I
find that,
have a bias, but a bias as a Catholic.
yes. Or people of faith. It's not
Okay.
just Catholics. but
Okay, but
people of faith. The other thing too is, there are some networks that are a little less
right.
biased, like NPR. There's a few. Now, there are a few that definitely are biased by the way that you can find a bias for what you like or a bias from what somebody else likes. You always have to look at it through a lens of possible bias. And if they agree with you, fine. If they don't, they're wrong, I'm right.
The hardest thing for me is as a matter of fact, it happened this week. I was visiting with someone and voting came up and she asked, who are you going to vote for? And I know who I'm going to vote for, I think anyway. But it wasn't hers. And what she said to me, what are you going to do when you're in heaven with Jesus at the door? What are you going to do if you believe in help me?
You mean if you voted for a candidate that believes in X that seems contrary to the teachings of the Catholic Church, or
The one of don't abort babies, that
Right.
kind of thing.
Mhm.
right?
How could you not do, how could you do that? So one thing that helped me a little is where you said, and that's That's a
Life issue.
pro-life issue. That helped me out. That's why I want that. there.
Okay,
That's hard.
Yeah.
You-
it is a
you-
hard issue.
Mhm. It
and
is a hard issue.
I was talking to someone whose opinion I respect a lot. And she said, think about it this way, can you really legislate morality? You really can't. You know, somebody's moral compass is different than the next guy's moral compass, and
You know,
you really can't legislate it.
well, you know what too, I think, is that Roe versus Wade was passed because women were dying.
Right.
Abortion has been going on for millennium.
Oh,
Women
biblical times.
get pregnant, they, for whatever reason, can't have the child, don't want the child, they go get backstreet abortions. That's happened forever. And they decided that too many women were dying from backstreet abortions. So they said, let's make this a clean, healthy thing for women. We're going to make it legal. If you mandate that there is no abortion at all, it's going to go back to the way it was. Women are still going to die. So either way, a baby dies, a woman dies. Whose life is more important?
Well, and
than
what
those
she
of
said
women?
is, but they have no, that baby has no choice.
Well, that's true. That some
Well,
women have no
and
choice.
the thing
either.
about it is, you know, if you're talking about one issue, you know, like we're impelled to look at multiple issues when we vote. The problem with I'll say this, with one issue is it eliminates so many other important issues that are important for the survival of the planet, the survival of all of us. And where I don't agree with personally abortion, because I believe that life begins at conception for me, other people don't believe that. You know, and legislate for one and not for all. I think it's a personal issue.
I think, we have a couple of people who raised their hands.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mercy Community.
It's a matter, and I talked with somebody about this, that exact thing. Life begins at conception, but it doesn't end until we die. So the things that we need materially, that a mother needs materially, you know, to take care of her child, that we as individuals need to make it through each day. Our sisters receive SSI for the most part. SSI is no more than $900 a month right now. For those who have to pay their rent, pay renter's insurance, pay their utilities, SNAP benefits allow them to be able to make up the difference in order to get food. Many of the seniors that I talk with who get SNAP benefits, it ranges anywhere from $15 to $50 a month. Imagine what they can buy.
Exactly.
And one other thing that I believe is that when somebody makes a decision about abortion, they don't answer to the people around them or the government, they answer to God.
That's right.
Sister,
Thank you, Karen.
Sister Carol, did you have a comment or question? Oh, no, okay. How about St. Anne Community? You have your hand raised still.
She came in.
I'm sorry, I forgot to get rid of the hand.
Okay, I got it for you. Got it for you.
That was helpful, thank you.
Well, we have come to the end of our time. If no one has any more questions, first I'd like to show some thanks to Sister Anne for all the work she did and the very, very fine presentation that she gave. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know you were nervous, but you did a great job. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I also want to remind everybody that they're going to receive something in the mail from me. In the regular email, or in the regular mail, the snail mail, and also you're gonna receive something from me in your email tomorrow, which is all these resources, and a request to give some feedback. And that's a really important part of your participation. It gives Sister Ann the feedback, and it helps us to know, because I'm gonna ask you what you'd like to see for next year. What things you'd be interested in having us do in the spiritual ministries of the Servants of Holy Heart of Mary. We're in our planning right now, and so I want to know what you would like us to provide for the community. One more thing, I am going to have this video put up by the end of the weekend. You will find it on our website at on the programming videos page. And if you go to that page, you'll also see our responsible voting video from 4 years ago with Steve Miles from CTU. So you can also, that's a really fine presentation about the seamless garment and how we should be multi-issue voters. It's another fine presentation that you might want to watch. There's one more message. It looks like somebody else said, oh. So, if we don't have anything else.
Did you want to, is this on there?
Yes, do you want to mention the bingo card? Because it's on the resource page. Do
Okay, all right.
you want to mention it?
There's like a bingo card from Nuns on the Bus through Network. And there's gonna be a debate on September 10th at 8 p.m. on ABC. And you can look at it and see what the main issues are that they're gonna debate. So just thought I'd throw that in, and you'll be receiving a copy of it. Thank you, Rima.
Thank you. Yes, thanks to Raymond. All right, thank you all so much. Have a good rest of your evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. God bless you.
Or thoughts.